Hello, my name is Father John Broussard, and this is answering your questions that you have submitted. So one of the questions that I get a lot is, what led me to become a priest? And how do I know if I'm called to be a priest? This is obviously a very important question to ask in any young man's life, and thinking about the vocation that God is calling them to, and if the priesthood would be an option. I know for myself, I felt a call to the priesthood from very, very young. It had always been an element in my family life, in my home growing up, talking about the faith and the priesthood. And I remember even as a very young boy, thinking about how I wanted to be a priest when I grew up. Now, that being said, as I got older and started going through high school, I fell away from that, didn't really know what I wanted to do, and pursued different options, and didn't really take the calling to the priesthood probably as seriously as I should have, during those years. But once I graduated high school and started college and started going through, that process of really making long-term vocational decisions, what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, I knew that in the back of my mind that this had to be something that I looked into. It had always been something that I felt that calling. And so I started looking into it, and once I began that investigation of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to be a part of, eventually God led me to the Fathers of Mercy, my religious community stationed in South Central Kentucky. And there was just a peace of heart that overtook me whenever I was ever involved with them or doing anything or visiting them. And the more I pursued that, the more peace I felt. And so the Lord led me down that path, and really you have to take it one day at a time and live in the present moment as you go through that journey. And eventually God confirmed my vocation through my profession of perpetual vows with the Fathers of Mercy, and then my ordination to the diaconate, and then ultimately my ordination to the Holy Priesthood, which has been an incredible and rewarding vocation. But I would say if you're considering it, if you're wondering, how do I know if I'm called to the priesthood, that in and of itself is actually a good sign. I mean, if you're asking that question, that means that there's something there. There's a pull on your heart. And at the very least, God could be calling you, drawing your heart closer to Him in that type of a vocation. A good question to ask yourself is, do I feel called to serve? Do I feel called to be a servant? Someone who wants to work towards the salvation of souls and wants to help people reach that goal. There is really no vocation that is more beautiful and more fulfilling than the Holy Priesthood, to help people on that spiritual journey. If you in any way feel that tug at your heart, it's certainly worth looking into. So I would encourage you, take some time for prayer, take some time for maybe a retreat, take a 3-day weekend retreat, and really discern and pray over, would this be something that God might be calling me to do? Because if you find happiness in that calling and you pursue it with faithfulness and obedience, there really isn't a more rewarding experience.